And good morning, good morning. We are back with Judging by the Cover. Today I am with Phoenix and Killian. So FlamedEzra
Hello.
and Killian hanging out. And yep, I'm Curtis. I am Neofangs here. We are looking at Overdungeon today. Now, FlamedEzra went and suggested this one because apparently it came from the same developers as Palworld, surprisingly. Um, and the game looks nothing like Palworld.
No, just concerned.
Concerned?
Concerned. It does look like a gotcha game.
Now, it looks like a gacha game, but considering it does have a price tag, it doesn't seem to have like any kind of microtransaction stuff going on with it. I do see that they do have some DLC in there. One of them is in a bundle here. They have a deluxe edition with the Mr. Almighty card pack. So I could imagine like a game like this might have some expansion content that comes out over time. Pretty much anything that's card based does that. I know the apps for Star Realms and Ascension do that, but there's still
Sure.
like the base game where it's still the complete game, as opposed to being a gotcha game where you have to like buy loot boxes and stuff. I
It's
hope that
true.
that is the case, and that anything with the game is unlocked like through gameplay. I do see multiple characters in there, so hopefully those characters are just kind of unlocked as you play the game. Maybe like recruiting them, they might have different abilities depending on what kind of cards you combine them with. But it really sticks out that they boast this as a roguelike tower defense card game, and the trailers really do a number to sell that. Something that I noticed on the Steam page that was not on the Nintendo eShop page, because it is available on both platforms, and there's probably other console shops that it's available on too, but those are the ones I have access to. Where the Nintendo eShop page did not have the trailers, so I had to look at Steam to see just what all is going on, and they show a lot with the arena. Now, they do show a little bit of animation in the trailers, like the character running out that does kind of look like open world Palcrafty, but I
That's
that
amazing
does not
what I was thinking.
that does not seem to be the bulk of the gameplay. The bulk of the gameplay shows like an arena where you lay down cards for like cannons, animals, creatures, and it's basically a my side versus your side battle against all kinds of enemies, bosses. They show a whole lot of everything going on, like hordes of llamas and chickens storming the enemy side, and I wish that was an exaggeration, but no, like one of the play strategies that they seem to show is just a ton of barnyard animals swarming the field.
Wasn't that also like a bunch of cows being like thrown into a pot earlier too?
Yeah,
Just
it looked like there was some kind of an animal breeding mechanic or animal grinding mechanic in there. I'm wondering if that's one of the things to power up your cards, which kind of leans into what might make it look like a gotcha game, where you may have to like grind out some of your resources like that. As far as how much like that may make it a little grindy, but as long as there's no microtransactions, like the little bit of grind would be like, okay, cool. That's just part of your skill progression and everything.
the
They
grinds
do
are just part of games nowadays.
The grind is
right.
real.
They do have skill trees. They do have a whole crap ton of cards that look like they would have all kinds of wild different effects, different characters. One of the trailers was just kind of a short little showcase of a succubus character, but they don't really detail in the trailers or the screenshots what the difference of the characters is. I am hoping that they do have different abilities or different like card synergies that support well with each one. I do see a lot of cannons, and I was just trying to see like we have the Vampire Lilith, yeah, like the card there. I do see the cards with the llamas just flying across the screen. We'll get into the written description in a minute here. Yeah, some of these shots are just like mountains of cannons and all sorts of stuff while you're trying to block bosses' attacks. and deal with all other kinds of threats. They do have a little homage to Chrono Trigger with Magus here. So that's kind of a little neat thing of gaming history.
Infinite combos.
So I know we haven't had a description yet, but I think I think it'll all start to make sense as to why they chose chickens in livestock. If you
I
scroll to the
imagine some of it, like, I know llamas have had a little bit of, like, llamas and alpacas have had, like, silly little placements in gaming. Like, Sim City had, like, its whole llama motif wrapped around it. Alpacas were popular with Animal Crossing.
I mean, Fortnite with a llama.
The Sims 2 also had a lot of llama-related stuff. I remember, like, some of the spin-off games specifically had llama-related everything. Like, Sims 2 Casto was big on the llamas.
Yeah, for some reason, like the Sim franchise as a whole seems very llama-centric.
Yeah.
I'm
awesome.
sure the chicken swarms may be a little homage to Legend of Zelda because, you know, Link always torturing those chickens.
Yep. I mean,
never getting poultry out of it.
Yep.
What did I say a couple years ago? There's no logic but llama logic.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Llama logic.
Fortnite, and there's llamas is a big part of that game too. And like a pinata llama in the game like messed up, and he said, "No logic like llama logic," and it just kind of stuck with us.
Yeah, it looks like the animals do kind of redirect some of those enemy attacks. We see them dropping the llamas in here while the computer is using cannons to act as like a main assault. So it does have very much that tower defense feel to it, where you're trying to defend your main character from attacks while taking out the enemy bosses. And they're probably also going to have different tactics and different swarms taking you on. But I do see the DLC they have for $14.99, which looks like a pretty good indie price point for a lot of stuff. Even with the DLC, it's, you know, they got that DLC bumped in there for 80 cents. That's, oh my gosh, that's a huge microtransaction right there, right?
Yeah, 80 cents. What am I ever going to do without it?
Oh my gosh. They're telling us that it's a completely new style, you know, because everything has to be that they have to try and sell it that way. Real-time card game that combines elements from roguelike tower defense and card games, full of random elements and easy to play. I'm hoping it's easier than it looks, because it looks like there is a lot happening. So I'm wondering if it's
in the trailers.
Do what?
It looked a little hectic to me based on the trailers. Like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, the trailers do look like a lot. Although I am wondering if the easy to play thing is probably one of those like easy to get into, and maybe it may be like a little more difficult to master and like break the game. But it does look like the kind of game that rewards players for experimenting with things to try and find like game-breaking combos and stuff. And it very much looks like the kind of thing where, you would get some major satisfaction out of that kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
Like whatever combo this is that just dropped, 15, 20 llamas on the screen at once. That, I don't know what that nonsense is, but that alone looks like it would be a good time just to see that kind of animal swarm.
Yeah.
It's obviously llama logic.
Llama logic. No logic like llama logic. To defeat the formidable enemies and clear the dungeon in the end, you need a deck of powerful cards. Okay, not llamas, alpacas, apparently. They do clarify it's alpacas. So alpacas, dogs, and grand chicken coop. Which one is your Joker?
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, the fact they call it grand chicken coop, like I'm already kind of loving this.
I mean, it's excellent. It's most excellent.
They do seem to really lean into the ridiculous and silly motif of it, which for a game like this, how could you not?
No, I also just need some herbs and spices.
We already know Killian's going to be playing that KFC deck.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see. Abounding cards of different types, such as animals, buildings, spells, traps. They are still expanding, so there's probably going to be more expansions coming out. A card make a difference with its unique features in a deck. Create your own powerful deck, make it to the top. uh, playful cards with memes. So they are very open that, like, yes, a lot of this game is going to be very much a joke.
Okay, so they said that more decks are coming out. Now, when was the last DLC? When was the last expansion for it?
That is a good question. Let's see. Mr. Almighty
Well, the
card
game was
pack.
released in 2018, so
It's
Oh,
6 years
wow.
old.
November 26, 2019 was the Mr. Almighty card pack. Which,
So
about 2 months after its release.
yeah, and then that's the last one.
yeah, that was the most recent thing. I would have to look into seeing what all is in recent news of it, maybe.
Looks like if you look at the update history, the latest like new card pack and new character was August 26, 2023. The last hotfix is September of 2023.
Okay.
So
I'm
So
wondering
there
if
hasn't been an update in a while.
I'm wondering if the development team got like maybe a little divided or split with all the other stuff that, because I know Pal World was a huge release for the company, so if other things kind of took a back seat because of the production requirements for that kind of project.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain also getting it onto because they had to get on the Switch as well before the whole Power World thing was going on. I think
Right.
around the time of the last update, the team was working on putting it onto other systems, so that might have been part of it as well.
Right, because working on those kinds of cross-platform and everything would also
Like the ports and
mess
stuff.
with things.
yeah,
The Switch release date is actually showing January 9th, 2025. So it's very recent on Switch.
oh wow,
Yeah.
But even then, like, even if they don't get more expansions coming out, like, it looks like they do have a very complete product here. And a lot of times, a game like this, like, because of how Pal World's development philosophy seems to angle, like, with the statements that their development has come out with, um, they do seem to be the kind where it's like, look, we want you to play our games and enjoy our games, but we don't want you to be like only enjoying our games. We want you to be able to play and enjoy what you like. Like, you don't have to devote all your time and energy into whatever we're making. Kind of shown
Yeah.
when it came out. I know we discussed it briefly, and I missed talking about it on the Monster Hunter episode. How this development studio basically gave everybody the day off to go play Monster Hunter. And that coming from the studio that had zero concerns about Pal World's player base falling off after, like, a month or so, was like, yeah, we know people are going to go play other games. That's fine. Like, when we have an update, they're going to come back and play the update. And in the meantime, they can go and enjoy other things. Like, people don't need to be married to our game. So if this game never gets another update, I feel like that'll probably be fine. This game will still be here in its very complete form, with whatever kind of combos and experimenting people want to do.
definitely.
Especially as hectic as everything looks, you can draw and play endlessly in a single run, random and changing cores to a roguelike game. So does Overdungeon. The map changes every time you play, and every time you enter the dungeon, there's always a brand new adventure. The circumstance varies. Will you risk your life to challenge elite monsters for greater loot, or just take a nap for the forthcoming journey? They are really leaning into the absurd on this.
Mm-hmm.
And with relics, they do have fabulous relic system. Various relics drop in random. They may upgrade your deck or change draw order and may further reverse the situation. So they do have like some random events in there. It looks like they definitely want to lean into like a very random and wild system instead of like making some kind of competitive card experience, which is fine.
I was just thinking. Sorry.
Oh yeah, go.
I was gonna say I was just thinking that because I know we were talking about possibly PvP, but it's definitely with the how they were saying you can go infinite on turn one or whatnot. It's definitely a PvE environment because you don't want that in a PvP. Because that just
Right.
feel bad. You don't want to feel bad.
It does look like if they have or if they were to add some kind of player versus player element, it would very much be like an afterthought where then it's like, yeah, we're not worried about balancing that side of gameplay. We'd rather just players have fun. And if players want to make like absurd PvP strategies and be silly with it, and that's a perfectly fine thing when it comes to a game. Not everything has to be like a balanced competitive experience. I've seen
Absolutely.
that with Pokemon TCG Pocket, where it can be very swingy. And even like Star Realms, like there are meta strategies for Star Realms, but even like some of the most consistent winning strategies still rely on a lot of luck for you to try and get the right cards in the right time.
Oh, for sure.
But then, like with
As
this
well.
one, with the deck, I don't know how grindy it is to get decks, or if they would have like some kind of a deck building mechanic when it comes to doing that kind of PvP thing.
Yeah. Also, I've only seen I think 2 characters so far. It's like the succubus character and like the elf hunter. I'm trying to figure out what the other
Um,
one is.
I have seen a couple of characters in the trailers. I see down here in the thumbnails for these first two trailers, there's
Huh?
looks like a human
Like,
character and then a female ninja character. On at
okay.
least on those thumbnails. So they do have a little bit of a cast. One of the trailers did showcase a male character too. So not all of the characters, I guess not all of the player characters are waifus. So there's
Yeah.
that. For anybody who would prefer, they do probably have a nice handful of husbandos.
Husbandos.
Um,
There's nothing wrong with a good husbando.
Yep. You got to have a little bit of balance in there for everybody. We do
But
have a handful of screenshots, and the screenshots we did see, I did see the screenshots on the Switch too. But again, the Switch did not have trailers. If I was only reviewing off of the Switch page, it would have been a very low score probably, just because the screenshots show some gameplay, but not anything really in motion. Here we just see a swarm of cannons.
do you
Now,
like fire? Do you like explosions? This is what we're gonna do.
Th-
Fire.
this this screenshot just screams, I don't care how big the room is. I said I cast fireball.
Fireball. I'm
We do
sorry.
see a handful of cards. Now I can only kind of guess at card effects based on the names here. They have Enter the Elephant, Wonder Candy, uh, Nine Cat.
Oh my god.
They have one called Nine Cat. I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that it summons 9 cats, or a cat that can die up to 9 times.
Or 9,000 cats.
Oh my gosh, please no.
It's over 9,000.
We have Super Chicken Nest as one of them,
No,
and
it's super chicken.
one of them is Chick the Gathering. That that sounds like a magic joke.
Bombastic side eye.
Bombastic
Oh,
Side Eye. Please tell me there's a card called Bombastic Side Eye.
if there's not, there needs to be now.
Yeah, that would be nice. Have the character turn sideways and just like actually give the side eye. We do have some screenshots of much smaller things going on. I see like an array of missiles coming out of the character. Now I haven't seen much of like what the difference between characters are, or if it's just an avatar. I would at least imagine like maybe there's some kind of an affinity where different characters have different passives or something. Maybe one of them has like stronger animal like strengthens animal cards. Maybe one of them strengthens cannons or fire. That kind of thing would make sense, but maybe not to such a huge degree that like makes one character drastically better than all the others. I would imagine there's some kind of a balance there where that you can
Over here.
mostly pick a character that fits your play style or your aesthetic. Like if you want succubus booty on your screen, then you can go with that.
That booty.
Okay, I think this one is like that male hunter looking character. So we do have the husbando showing here, along with a
This one.
couple of like hunter like mountain lions they look like armored mountain lions maybe against some dragons.
Maybe he's the one with the 9 cats.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's just 2 out of those 9. One of the trailers did show. I guess it came from an event or an update or something. The vampire Lilith tells us originally human, found herself turned into a vampire one morning. She crawls into the dungeon to get the egg of hope, which is believed to make every wish come true. She's actually embarrassed about her seductive costume. Okay, that description is funny.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah.
That is that.
Okay, and here,
Like,
okay, it does say
yep.
here blood potion, so I didn't notice this at first. It says restores 10% HP at the end of combat. So I'm guessing that probably is like the whatever kind of character ability is unique to them. So it's a small ability that's only going to be 20 health here, but it's a little something that can maybe make you pick one character over another too. And then we have that Hunter Valley and cat girl named Sugar. She's got to get the cat power buffs probably.
I mean, for sure. Like, I mean, it's a cat girl.
It even says for advanced players, so I have to wonder like what's going on with that.
I give that a side eye. What do you need advanced players for the cat girl?
Sugar for advanced players only. And guys, please, do not lewd the characters. That there's enough going on the screen without looting the characters.
They acknowledge how she's embarrassed by how lewd she is.
Oh my god! Like she's like, no, I want to put on more clothes, please.
Developer said no.
We do have a variety of battle modes. Now, this is the kind of thing that you would expect to see in a gacha game, like Killian mentioned. They got Quest, Basic Dungeon, Season Dungeon, Daily Challenge, and Arena. So it looks like there is some PvP element to this. Now, the PvP also very much hinges on other players actually actively playing. That being that the game's last update on here on Steam came from almost 6 years ago, that's gonna be that could be a hindrance to the PvP. But still, like daily challenge, season dungeon, even if you only have basic dungeon and quest, you can get a lot of gameplay out of those things depending on how much they put like into your story campaign.
There's nothing wrong with a good, solid single-player game.
Especially with it being a roguelike. Roguelikes having that constant, like, it's a different experience every time. You never know what drops you're going to get each time. We've got skill trees, and it looks like multiple skill trees. They've got title, attack, spell, animal, building, and adventure. So different, probably different branches or different things that you can power up for things. We got maximum might, chain reaction, electric. Invest probably gets you more money, while quick shot is faster attack speed. I would imagine, just based on the wording, that just makes sense. They do try to. It looks like they try to put things so that you get descriptions here. Like let's see, lightning deal 10 damage to a random enemy leader 2 times at the start of combat. Okay, so very simple, self-explanatory. The level up gets you more hits. We got there's a loaning system apparently. You can borrow, so if you don't have enough money to buy something you want, you can borrow money to pay back later. That's a cool mechanic right there.
Interesting. It's very interesting.
I guess probably to like boost your deck mid-run can get you some perks that way, but it's also got to be a bit of risk reward, I bet, like to hope that you get something good now and that you don't need the money later would be the gamble on that part.
Yeah, like what's the penalty? Like if you how they penalize you in that game? That's kind of like the question for a loan.
Like I'm sure there's some kind of interest here. The screen does say here 50 gold payback, so I'm wondering if that is how much they currently owe, which would make sense. So if they do the 20 gold borrow, that would probably add together and then add to the interest for the next like after the next game segment. So it would probably put that debt up to 70. If it's like a 10% quote unquote interest, if it would go up to 77, or if it like increments by 10 every time, that would be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah,
Put the player to debt. Put the player to debt. That's the goal.
Yeah, put the player into debt. So now, at least from the looks of it, this is the kind of thing that very could have easily been a mobile game with even the graphics do kind of scream like, yeah, this could have been a mobile game. You could have put it on phones and charge people for have them pay for extra lives, or have them have to like recharge energy between gaming sessions, and or you can pay to accelerate your energy recovery. But instead, no, they made it a single $15 game. It does look interesting. I would probably give this a look. If this goes on sale, this might be another one that ends up on my Steam library with the intent that I get around to it eventually. Because you know how Steam libraries go.
Infinite void.
I do have a bunch of things that I had actually just installed from my Steam thing, from my Steam backlog to try and get around to. But of course, between work and all the other projects, that's always a thing to focus on. But it does look pretty good. I would probably rank this a solid 7. I could see it bumping up depending on like if it looks like they're going to get some updates, or if it looks like those other game modes. Like, we do see the multiple game modes here. They're just kind of cycling through the precursors of them. I think an increase on the rating might depend on how much of a grind it is to really get your skills pumped up. Now, if they do have some kind of a microtransaction thing to speed up the grind, that would be a bit of an issue, especially since they do have already the $15 price tag on there. But they do have the DLC and the soundtrack at pretty good rates there. They got the deluxe edition bundled in for an extra 80 cents, or the DLC, the Mr. Almighty card pack by itself for $2, which is a pretty for an expansion card pack for something like this, that's pretty much par for the course. I've seen that kind of rate for Star Realms, like from $1 or $2 for a full blown card expansion that also adds like extra story chapters.
Like for me, this is probably, I would give this probably between a 6 and a 6.5, just because it's not really my cup of tea. I do like a game with story, so I were to like go in and find out like each character kind of has a little bit more involved in the backstory, that would probably bump it up to a 7. But just like as it's presented, not my jam. But I appreciate it.
I can see that. I do see. It looks like they do have some Craftopian crossover there, which I think Craftopia is another one of Pocket Pair's games.
Probably. I mean, that'd be probably a good HK guess.
Yep. Considering that they do have that crossover, it is cool that they have that like little mixing of their IPs at least. Yeah, I think that's where I'm sitting. So 6 to 7 seems to be about where we're at. If it were to go on sale, I may pick this up. It'd have to be a little bit of a good sale, but of course, anybody out there who does have experience with this game, from over the last 6 years, maybe this is a game that really helped get somebody through the 2020 Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
Okay, sorry, that was good.
They did. Hold on. That trailer just showed one of the other characters on the screen. There was like this Kunoichi. She is a ninja master who uses firecrackers as weapons. The reason why she crawls into the dungeon is to see Sensei, who died to protect her again. Wait, he died again, or he was just protecting her again?
Maybe he wants to go see his ghost or resurrect him.
Depending on now, that kind of thing could speak into whatever kind of story the characters have in the dungeons, which again, like you said, that would be the kind of thing, like I would hope that the characters have something in there besides just the avatar and a buff. If they have some kind of a storyline that goes with them that gets fleshed out in there, that could be cool to see. If you're
Absolutely.
feeling, oh, okay, if you're feeling warm feelings toward her, it's probably because you're on fire.
Okay. Okay. They're being a little cheeky. I
They
appreciate that.
they know what they're doing.
They do.
And apparently, her special ability, the first card played, the first played card of each combat will be played twice.
Okay.
So, depending on what order you play your things in, I guess in each round is going to make a huge difference there. And that, I guess, that's going to play into the combo that for however she works, which could be really cool. And if she gets like the extra buffs for fireworks, I wonder if like maybe each character also has different starting decks, like different starting cards. It said that she specialized in fireworks, so maybe she gets like more fire cannons and stuff like that in addition to
Well,
whatever deck you build around her.
yeah, that would make sense.
Um, of course, that's all speculation here. I'm just kind of guessing from what's shown here. It would be kind of cool to see that. I would think if the game goes like maybe below $10, I'd probably jump on it. Just because now 15, like I said, looks like a very fair price on here. I could easily see myself going for that if I was getting it like brand new, with a pretty good assurance that I was going to have a lot of people on there and a lot of updates for like the daily challenges and to see what goes on with those. Because things like daily challenges and season challenges are the kind of things I would expect from those kind of mobile games to kind of keep a longevity of content going. But considering the game is 6 years old, I would want to see like make sure that the game has enough in its base, like in its just its regular campaign, because the campaign is going to be like the huge bulk of the game for me.
Yeah, for sure.
But with what they say is over 100 cards, that would be kind of interesting to see, like all the kinds of different cards they have, the different mechanics and specialties they go. Um, And of course, anybody else out there, like I said, if anybody has experience with that, we got the comments section down there. And we also take some recommendations for other games to look at. Uh, if anybody has played this on the Switch, please let me know how it performs on there. I think I would prefer this on Switch so that I could play it handheld. Now, or obviously, you could probably also go Steam Deck with it. But that Steam Deck is a very expensive version of a Switch, basically, that I'm not exactly budgeted for.
Shots fired.
Nothing against the Steam Deck. For people that play the Steam Deck and have that to go on, by all means, like play the hell out of your Steam Deck. I just do not have the budget for it.
Yeah.
But that being the case, like I would probably wait for it to go sale on Switch before I go for this. But if it weren't for the trailers on the Steam page, I wouldn't even know that the game looked like this. The screenshots really don't do it justice as far as seeing like all of the cards in motion.
Yeah. One of the bonuses of having a good trailer is like gives you a good idea of what's really going on.
Yeah. All right, and with that, I think we're pretty much wrapped up here. I know we have a couple other recommendations that FlamedEzra has shot our way that I'm hoping to check out later on. So until then, good night, everybody. Thank you for joining, everybody.
Right.